very first session, Stories on the Wall, I'd like to introduce our first two speakers. Kezang Chodin T. Wongchuk. Aji is a writer, active volunteer for social causes and spiritual promotion for charitable and spiritual organizations, both national and international. In conversation with Rinpoche, who is a co-author of Bold Bhutan Beckons, Symbols of Bhutan, and the author of Mysteries of the Raven Crown, Legacy of Gongzim Ugyen Wongchuk, and Myth and Memory, Untold Stories of Bhutan. He is also a contributor to the national newspapers and international magazines. So may I invite Aji and Mr. Rinpoche on stage. Thank you.
Bhutan has over 2,000 monasteries, the oldest dating back to the 7th century. The walls of these monasteries are covered with priceless murals, and each painting contains a story. For example, if you drive 30 minutes north of Thimphu and visit the 17th century Tamu monastery, you will see this painting of Padmasambhava on the wall. The painting is unusual and priceless. It is rare and probably only of its kind. And art experts say that it will be hard to put a value to it. The subdued colors and the red spot in the eye of the Guru makes it a unique piece. The monks in the Buddhist college tell us that Desi Tenzin Rabge, a highly revered 17th century ruler, had the painting commissioned on the wall of his bedroom. When the Desi died, it is believed that Padmasambhava, better known as Guru Rinpoche, is supposed to have wept, and hence the red spot in the corner of his eyes. Kuzu Zambula, I have the honor to welcome all of you to this morning session, Stories on the Wall. The session has been divided into 3 parts. I just need another 2 minutes to finish the first part, and then we will request Aji Kezang to take us on a visual pilgrimage before we open the floor for Q&A. There are 2 people responsible for bringing Buddhism in its present form, and the curious thing is that both were from a Muslim country. Guru is one of these people. He was born in Udayana in present-day Pakistan. In Bhutan, Guru is considered the second Buddha. He visited Bhutan 3 times, first in 737, and then in 746 and 749. He traveled the length and breadth of the country introducing Buddhism. Like Amish mentioned yesterday, Guru falls in the Buddha category, born a man but died a god. Much of the truth behind him is hidden in the mist of myth. Although the walls in the monasteries make him a mythological figure, he was really, like any of us, much wiser. Another slight difference is that while we men struggle to keep one wife happy, he had 3 wives and was able to keep all of them happy. What Bhutan is today, the unique tradition, the vibrant culture, right down to our gut feeling, is the legacy of Guru. He was a civilizing factor. Before him, Bhutanese worshipped nature and believed that spirit lived in each entity. Our ancestors worshipped rocks and prayed to the trees. It was primitive because some of these practices were beastly, involving blood sacrifice and superstition. Don't get me wrong, Ben had its own advantage. A lot of the green you see in the country today is thanks to nature worship. By 700 BC, during Guru's time, the first university was already established. The Takshila University in present-day Pakistan was already a center for learning. It had a center for Buddhist learning, and it is possible that Guru may have studied in the university and hence knew logic, which he introduced and adapted to the circumstances during his travels. In Bhutan, he never challenged the belief system and cleverly avoided clash of reason and superstition, but bridged the two. For example, Bhutanese national pastime is chewing doma or pan. At times it is a bit annoying when you see the juice sprayed all over the wall. But the story behind it is that before Guru came to Bhutan, the people were savages and ate each other. To stop this habit, and as a substitute, Guru introduced the pan, consisting of leaf, nut and lime mixture, the mixture producing red juice representing the human blood. One unique feature that sets Guru apart from all the other religious figures is his death. While there are stories and many books written about the death of religious figures, there are none on Guru. This is because it is believed that he never died but went to Santo Pelri, the copper-colored mountain, which is believed to be a paradise, a perfect world. During the inaugural of the festival, Shiram Ji of Usha kindly compared Bhutan to Pandora, the densely inhabitable moon in the movie Avatar. The plot of the movie is simple. By 2154, that is 141 years from now, humans have depleted the Earth's natural resources and go to Pandora to extract the natural resources, where the inhabitants live in harmony with nature and worship a mother goddess. The Bhutanese believe in such a heavenly place, but call it Santo Pelri. The question that comes to many of our mind is, did the director James Cameron have Santo Pelri in mind when he created Pandora, and Guru Rinpoche when he created the mother goddess for his movie? In the West, only directors like Cameron ventured into this subject and was able to thrill the audience. But in Bhutan, we live in the world of Pandora. And if you don't believe, please read the book, Santo Pelri, the Lotus Light Palace of Guru Rinpoche. Her Majesty, the Royal Grandmother, is the inspiration of the book and will for sure know more than the American director, as she has been completely immersed in this world and is an authority on the subject. The book is a labor of love and has photos of over 250 murals from all the monasteries in the country depicting this paradise. The photos include some rare and priceless murals. The book is worth its weight, and all the proceeds goes to support 600 monks and restoration of the monasteries in the country. On this note, I would like to request Her Majesty's granddaughter, the editor of the book, Ashi Kezang, to share some of the stories on the wall before we open the floor for Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sinkashi. That was a very interesting introduction to Guru Rinpoche. So this book is obviously about Guru Rinpoche's paradise. A lot of you are familiar with Guru Rinpoche. We've grown up with hearing Guru Rinpoche. We've grown up with hearing his prayers. And we do know some vague thing about Guru Rinpoche and his paradise of Santo Pelri. So this first slide here, obviously is Guru Padmasambhava, and this is actually a collection from Tashi Chezong, which is the Dzongmen temple, and it's actually commissioned by Desiten Ziloke. It is a 17th century painting, and it has just been recently restored by our Bhutanese Thangka conservators who are monks. Now Guru Rinpoche, of course, is a very important figure. Yes, he's from Pakistan, but he made a very big impact in Bhutan as well as Tibet. But what not many people know is that he actually visited Bhutan first before he came to Tibet. And before that, Bhutan was obviously mostly shamanistic kind of country. We didn't have kings or anything like that. So Guru Rinpoche had a very big impact, and not only that, but Shabduma Namgyal as well, as many of you students know. Bhutan is what it is today because of these two people. Our costumes, our culture, our values, we all sort of, because of them, we have this gift. This Thangka is basically on Guru Rinpoche's life story. As most Buddhist artists know, is that Buddhist art is not like foreign art. It's not like modern art where, it's not, you don't appreciate art for art itself. Buddhist art has a deeper meaning. It's more, especially Thangkas and murals, it's used for visual aid for spiritual development, for meditative contemplation and things like that. So obviously Buddhist artists had to use certain colors in order to help you with your meditation, to develop yourself. They used a lot of symbolism, so everything from Guru Rinpoche's hat to the color of the lotus. If you are an initiated person, the spiritual teacher will explain to you exactly what it means when you're visualizing Guru Rinpoche and his paradise. So according to your level of development, you will understand what it means and what it will reveal to you, your inner higher self or inner development. So going on to the next slide, this is just an extract from one of the murals that we have in this book. This one is, as all of you know, Taksang. This is above Taksang. It's known as the old Santaperi Halong. It was built by a very famous Paropendok called Agiha. This is like a 17th century painting. And as many of you who are familiar with Buddhism will know that the Buddhist practices there are three very popular practices in Buddhism. Of course, we have many. We have Drukpa Kaju, Nyingma, Sakya, Gelugpa. But in all these practices, what we have in common is these three teachings, which is of Lord Amitabha, which is the Western Paradise Buddha. Then we have Avalokiteshvara, which is a Bodhisattva. All of you know he has many hands and he has 11 heads. He's depicted like that. And of course, the most important practice, third one, is Guru Rinpoche's practice. I think everyone, Bhutanese and Tibetans, since they were very little, they know all these prayers and they know these practices by heart. So this painting in particular is very unique because it depicts, on above, as you can see, it depicts the Western Paradise of Lord Buddha Amitabha, and below is Guru Rinpoche Santaperi. Now this is very different to other pictures of Santaperi because it depicts both the Western Paradise and Guru Rinpoche's Paradise. This is probably unique because the artist has depicted it as such because, in terms of cardinal direction, the Western Paradise is obviously located in the west, but Guru Rinpoche's Paradise is located in the southwest. So the artist has depicted it, the paradises next to each other. We were fortunate enough, the interesting thing is we were fortunate enough to take this picture because right after this, 2 months later, we had a very big earthquake in Bhutan. So this mural cannot be seen anymore because the monastery is very badly dilapidated and it's behind a lot of pillars, so you don't get to see this picture anymore. Moving on to the next slide. This one is my personal favorite from the book. It is one of the oldest paintings that we were able to find. This is from Tamjing Monastery in Bumtang, for those of you who have been in central Bhutan. It is the founding place of Terten Pema Limpo, a very famous treasure discoverer. This mural we found was the oldest one because it's not based on any textual scripts or any of the teachings that we find now. This was actually based on the actual vision of Terten Pema Limpo when he visited Guru Rinpoche Santaperi in his dream. So as you can see, it's very raw, and the painting, when you look at it, we have compared it with other paintings. It dates as early as mid-15th century. And this is one of the earliest. It's in very pristine condition because it's preserved inside the Gyeonggong, so hardly anybody sees this kind of painting. As you can see, I'm not sure if you can see it, but this is like the exact depiction of when Pema Limpo saw it. Like there's he saw three glacial mountains, so you can see the mountains on the side. He's actually riding on a horse, going to Santaperi. This is actually based on his actual vision, so this is like a very interesting and rare painting, of which there will be more, if you look at the book, there's a much more detailed description on this. So I just extracted 2 paintings just for you guys, just to have like a basic look at it. And I hope that those of you who buy the book, who look at it, will understand what Bhutan is about, what Guru Rinpoche is about, what kind of importance he has to Bhutan, and I hope that you will take a bit of spirituality back with you. Thank you.
We will open the floor for question and answer.
I studied Buddhism a little bit, but when you talk about different gurus, are they all saying the same thing, or there's like slight differences in their teachings?
You mean in terms of Buddhist sects?
Yes.
Or, obviously, in a sense, they are the same, because the spiritual path, the moral values, and all this is the same in a sense. But obviously, the journey to get to that level of enlightenment is different. So each teacher has a different method. In terms of, for example, the Gelugpa sect is more into, knowing about knowledge. So they're more into like scriptures and knowing about all these different historical things and that kind of thing. While Nyingma is more like to do with the essence of Guru Rinpoche's practice. It's directly from the 8th century. So in terms of how you practice, it's different, but in essence, I guess the goal is the same. I don't know, that's how I would understand it. So.
Thank you.
I was curious, in India, which is just a neighboring country, there's a lot of repression of thought in terms of nature. For instance, here, the palace, for instance, is quite openly shown and depicted and even venerated. And in India, everything is repressed. And then you have stories of the divine madman, and it's lovely. How do you explain this difference? So.
I don't know, this is just my personal opinion, but I think Bhutanese nature is that we are quite, I wouldn't say blunt, but we're quite honest with ourselves. We're not people who pretend to be somebody we're not. So I guess it is our nature and in our culture and values that we are open to these kind of things, such as Trupa Kinde. You see a lot of phalluses on the walls. We're quite comfortable with that kind of concept. I'm not sure if the younger generation are kind of comfortable with that now, because we're greatly influenced by Western values, and there's lots of television and things, and my daughter tends to feel a little bit shy when she sees phalluses on the walls. But I don't know, for us who are growing up, I guess it's something that is part of Bhutan, it's part of Bhutanese, it's like, it's sort of, it's about being real with yourself. And Bhutanese have that kind of innate thing that they're like, hey, don't be too up yourself, you have to be really real. To be real, you have to sort of face these things which embarrass you, so that you open your mind to, I guess, spirituality and how real life works. So, I don't know, this is my personal opinion, so.
Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, hi. Just a quick question. Since you've been looking at the murals across the kingdom in a lot of different monasteries and other structures, and you particularly said that you've been able to date them stylistically based on certain influences. So is this something that has been, is there a set of codes that you see in these paintings that give you an impression that this is perhaps from the 15th century, 16th century? Has there been greater study which has happened into understanding time periods and provenances of most of these tankas?
Looking at the tankas, we don't look at them in an isolated way. We actually look at the monastery, the historical background, how it came to be. So we do look at that, but we also do look at the Buddhist, iconography. We do compare with other kind of, research books that were there, that are available. So one thing very good about Buddhist iconography is that there's certain styles and sets during certain centuries, And then, there's certain norms and there's Tibetan Chinese influence, there's Tibetan Indian, like Gandhara influence, this kind of thing. So we do compare with that, and there's certain things like the way the lotus is shaped or the way the guru's face is shaped that sort of indicates which century it is, what kind of style it is. So we do have, look at that and sort of kind of place it in that kind of thing by comparing with other paintings, as well as looking at the historical background of the monastery.
And the sort of last thing, in India we've had this problem that sometimes murals and paintings have been interpreted by people who are not Indian. And obviously now times have changed and we've got our Indian expert looking, and sometimes we find that our findings are at variance with whatever Western scholar had perhaps. Is that something that happens to here as well?
Not many of the Buddhist murals here in Bhutan have actually been looked at by people from overseas. This is because of the sacredness of the nature of the monasteries and things like that. And as you know, Bhutan has a policy where tourists cannot take pictures and things like that. So compared to Tibet, I guess we have not had so much research. But looking at books which are based on Tibetan Buddhist art and things like that, yes, we did find a lot of variation, but we always had, Bhutan is very rich in terms of spiritual texts and things like that, so we did have a look at that to, corroborate with, so hopefully it's correct.
Thank you.
I have a doubt regarding the Buddhism, which is followed by Bhutanese and the actual Lord Buddha. So, are you calling Guru Rinpoche as the reincarnation of Lord Buddha? And is there any differences between the Buddhism which is created by Lord Buddha and the present thing system which is followed in Bhutan? Could you please explain that?
Well, I don't claim to be an expert, but this is my understanding. According to Tibetan texts, as well as Buddhist historical texts, we do believe that Guru Rinpoche is a reincarnation of Lord Buddha Sakyamuni. It is said that during the time of his death, he did predict that he will be reborn in the snowy mountains, to teach Buddhism in the snowy mountains of Tibet and the Himalayas at large. So, Guru Rinpoche also, he was supposed to have been miraculously born in a lotus. That is up for debate for people who do believe. I guess he has. For those who don't, he's supposed to be the son of the king of Odiyana. So, for us, yes, we do believe 100% that he is the reincarnation of Lord Buddha. In terms of the practice that we do here in Bhutan, as well as in Tibet, and when you compare it with Lord Buddha's teachings, in a sense, I would say yes, it is the same, because when we do the basic practice, it is everything to do with Lord Buddha's teachings. There is about not killing beings, not lying, not harming. All these precepts were set by Lord Buddha, and it's not like we follow anything different. It's something a bit like, I would interpret it like Lord Buddha's teachings are a bit like, you go to primary school and high school, and Guru Rinpoche's teachings would probably be a bit like college. So, it's like, it's the same thing, but you're just, graduating to a higher level and perhaps have a deeper understanding. But I think in a sense they're the same.
It's a bit general, but I could find that some of the Buddhists are vegetarians and some of them are non-vegetarians.
Oh, that is just to do with Bhutanese. We just love meat. I mean, of course, if you're a true Buddhist, you wouldn't eat any meat, but...
I just want to tell all of you that this is a session on the mural paintings, not on Buddhism. So they are not going to be answering questions on Buddhism in general, because that's not their area.
She's answering very well.
She's answering very well. The point is to talk about murals and artworks that are being created in this wonderful book. That's what this session is about, and I really hope that we'll have a few more questions on the subject that we are discussing. Thank you.
Anyway, please continue with the answer to that.
Meat eating is purely one's individual choice, and actually, the tradition was that Lord Buddha used to sort of beg for alms to other people, and then sometimes they would offer him meat. So, in order not to, because when you offer something to the Lord Buddha, you gain merit. So. He could not refuse meat, so in that way you're allowed to eat meat, but obviously nowadays it's interpreted a little differently. So yes, we do have a lot of vegetarians, but at the same time Bhutanese love a lot of meat, including myself, so I think we still have a long way to get to enlightenment and not eating meat and all that kind of issues.
Since we've been directed to ask only about the Tanka and all, what about restoration work in Bhutan? Please kind of.
Restoration work in Bhutan, I have to be quite honest, is 50-50 in the sense that we do have traditional Bhutanese artists using traditional methods, but as the debate with restoration is that if you restore too much, it becomes extremely new, and it's not the old traditional things. Currently, we have Tanka and mural restorers who are of the cultural department. They actually gone overseas to train, so they do actually have methods, to restore in the traditional manner without destroying the spiritual essence or whatever the original kind of thing. But on the other hand, we do have a lot of enthusiastic Bhutanese who mean well, but who change the ambience of the monastery because they want to make it bigger and better. Because Bhutanese always have this belief that if it's bigger and better and it's more impressive, it's it means that we're doing a really good, meritorious work. But at the same time, they change the whole aspect of what it looks like traditionally. So we do have 50-50, and we hope that we can educate people, make them understand that keeping things as they are for the future generation is probably the better way to go than using new methods and new techniques which change the aspect of, murals, monasteries and things like that.
So the huge Tanka we have in the textile music.
Oh, that's very new. I actually went with the manager to pick the silk. But anyway, that's very new. Obviously, we use traditional methods. Everything is hand stitched. But the material of the silk now and the material of the silk like maybe 20-30 years ago is not the same. So preserving and conservation is obviously a very big issue here in Bhutan. We hope to make people more aware, more interested. I'm not sure how that will work out.
I have a question here. When we were looking at the handicraft yesterday, we saw there were these so we saw these 4 power animals, which I think represent 4 aspects of human nature: the monkey, the elephant, the rabbit, and there was one more. So this bird, So this seems to be a very iconic representation of spiritual qualities. I just wondered if you could help us understand this better.
You mean the Timpapinji, right? I'm not an expert on this, but this is just my interpretation. Obviously, it's about harmony. It's about getting along. But spiritually, it's about. I don't think I'm very good at explaining this. Maybe Toshi might be better at this.
Would you like to repeat your question once more so that they can...
Yeah, so we were looking at these iconic animals, and I believe even in the Punakadzong, there is a very beautiful fresco featuring the harmony that you see between these 4 species: the animal, the elephant, the monkey, the rabbit, and the bird. So we just wondered, what is the symbolism of these 4 animals in the Bhutanese spiritual culture?
I'm not so spiritual. So, for a layman, it represents harmony and the need to coexist. And maybe we can, I'd like to introduce Professor Yoshiro Imaida. He's an expert on the subject, and
Yes.
we can request him to
Yeah.
explain the spiritual aspect.
No, I am not a spiritual person, so I cannot give this spiritual meaning. But as I'm a historian, and this motif originates in the biography of the Buddha, Lord Buddha himself. It so happened that one night, when the monastic body was just moving from one place to another, in the time of the Lord Buddha, there was no settled accommodation. So one day, Lord Buddha arrived at the place where they would spend the night, late, with one of his disciples, Kunga, Ananda, who was one of the closest. There was no place to sleep for Ananda. And Lord Buddha said, no, this is not the way. In the monastic order, there should be a hierarchy. Newcomers should not occupy the best place. Ananda is one of the oldest disciples, or most advanced disciple. So he should be put in the best place, and next one like that. To explain the thing, Lord Buddha quoted one tale. Of course, it is an Indian tale. So there were 4 animals: elephant, and monkey, and rabbit, and bird. So to identify the hierarchy, or the age-wise, Buddha asked to each of the animals, say, so there was a tree in that place. So the elephant said, when I came to this place, the tree was of my height. This is one indication. Second thing is what the monkey, what he said, I don't remember. Oh no, the same thing. No, same thing. When I came, the tree was of my height. So this shows between elephant and monkey. So elephant is a newcomer because tree was big, already big. So monkey's height, monkey is older. Then rabbit came, the same thing. When I came to this place, tree was of my height. So rabbit is earlier, etc. But then the bird came. No, when I came, there was no tree. I brought the seed. So between these 4 animals, one, it is evident that the bird is the earliest, etc. Then came the rabbit, monkey, and elephant. Now the thing is well established, order is well established, so one should respect. This was the original tale in the Vinaya collection. So I think this is a real origin, but there is no spirituality. Then Bhutanese or Tibetan tradition gave another spiritual meaning, the harmony between the 4. But this explanation makes no sense. Because usually people explain that to get the fruit of the tree, they should collaborate. But rabbit can never go up. But a bird, without no collaboration with other animals, can pick up the fruit. So it doesn't make sense. But it is understood in this way as a tale. It is a good tale, but as a historian, I don't believe in this. But it's a good tale, I admit.
Last 5 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
The last speaker.
We've got 1 or 2 questions left.
Your Majesty, I feel like you've been a great inspiration to many, not just with your works, and now also with this life work of a book that you've produced. And the main question that I had was, what do you feel, in your opinion, is the relevance that this beautiful artwork has to the younger generation as well as to the outside world that is maybe not as familiar with these teachings? Like, what is maybe the main essence that you would like people to walk away with when they reach your home?
Well, to be quite honest, the book initially was supposed to be, like I've told quite a few people, it's supposed to be this small. But because of Her Majesty Royal Grandmother, and she has inspired us with this book, she has helped us with getting the information and has done so many things, so I cannot take credit for this book 100%. Her Majesty would, I think, obviously because we love Guru Rinpoche, but not only that, but Guru Rinpoche is a symbolism of our inner self in terms of what we can achieve, what we can hope to be. I guess it is true for every kind of spiritual practice that we do. We hope to sort of, achieve our higher self, our higher being. So I hope that this book personally would reach out to the younger generation in terms of understanding about Bhutan, about ourselves. But at the same time, I hope that it would open their minds to what is possible about, achieving what you can be. Maybe not in terms of spirituality, but I hope that they will understand that they come from a very unique culture. So, and they should be proud that they're Bhutanese, and they should be proud that they're Buddhists. So, I hope in that way Bhutanese would sort of appreciate the book. For the international audience, I guess, to better understand Bhutan, to better understand us, but also to better understand what spirituality means to every individual, and that actually, in a sense, it's the same no matter what religion you are, no matter what belief you have. So I hope that for the international audience, the book would sort of relate to that. Thank you.
The last question.
We can have one more question.
Bhutanese, yes.
The taste of it goes down and down as while we are adding more and more water to it. Same goes to the spiritual or the actual value of the tankas and other religion aspects goes on diminishing as we come up with more and more modification to it. So what I actually want to ask is that, is there any difference between it?
Difference between?
That one, so which I explained before, which means the spiritual value, whether it diminishes or it remains same.
You mean with new paintings and old paintings? That I don't think it diminishes in any way, but why we need to preserve old paintings is because I think because obviously it's been blessed by many saints and all that we haven't seen in our age and time. So I guess in that way, old paintings are more spiritually blessed. But in no way is a new tanka or an old tanka in any way less, spiritually, have any less spiritual blessings or anything like that. But we must preserve old tankas, old murals and things like that, because it is something of our past that perhaps we might have forgotten in the future. But at the same time, in order to move on to the future, you do need to understand your past, right? So we hope that a lot of the artistic kind of, how to say? Yes, thank you. Artistic legacy sort of passed on to the future generation. So in that way, we hope that art will continue on. But in terms of spiritual blessings, I wouldn't say that a new tanka or an old tanka is any less in blessings. It's really entirely up to the individual's devotion. I mean, I think all of you are familiar with the story of the dog's tooth. If you remember I think it was one of Lord Buddha's stories. There was an old woman and she wanted her son to get a tooth of Lord Buddha's relic, from Bodh Gaya. And every time the sun went, he forgot to bring it back. And on his third visit, on his way back, he remembered that he was supposed to bring, Lord Buddha's relic back. And he was like, oh my God, now I'm halfway home and there's no tooth relic. My mother is going to be so angry with me. And he saw, a bone of a dog, the head of a dog, and he took the tooth of the dog and he gave it to his mother wrapped in a silk, saying, this is Lord Buddha's relic. And his mother, 100% obviously believed it, and she was so happy, and she put it, in the altar shrine, and she gave devotional offerings to it every single day. And amazingly, it happened that because of her spiritual devotion, the dog's tooth indeed turned into a relic and started producing what we believe to be, we call ringse, which means sort of kind of like little babies, but kind of bone relics more. So I guess in that way, it's up to your spiritual devotion whether this, object of veneration is.
With this last question, we would like to thank all the audience for attending this morning's session.